Moreover, Sprint, T-Mobile, Frontier, Google Fiber have all said that Title II will not chill investment. So the evidence on what Title II does with regard to investment, that is nothing, very little, or maybe even incents more investment, is really on our side. And also, if you read the Wall Street analysts, the vast majority of them, Guggenheim, J.P. Morgan, New Street Research, have all said, as long as we don't rate regulate, people will still, ISPs will still continue to invest. So we think we've got the better argument on investment.
Let's talk about actually investing in infrastructure in this country. I am often seeing stats that show that this country is actually behind other countries when it comes to the speed of our broadband, the price of our broadband. In writing these rules, you pulled away from the idea of unbundling, and that would be that forcing the telecoms to rent out their pipes to competitors. So you're not going to do that. What can be done, I mean, how many people have one or two choices as to...
Well, why don't we ask this question? So the FCC just changed its benchmark for what broadband is. It was originally 4 megabits per second download speed and 1 megabit per second upload speed. We thought that was pretty ridiculous. We've just changed it to 25 megabits per second download and 3 up. So how many people in the audience, even though I can't see most of you, have a choice of more than one at that speed? That's pretty good. I was just out in rural Ohio speaking at Ohio University, and not one person raised their hand. There were like 250 people in the audience. So that's actually pretty good.
Yeah, I'm looking at it because I live in San Francisco, and I have to say that where I live, I basically have Comcast. That's it, and I'm in San Francisco. There are some other things, but they're not as fast. And it does seem to be throughout the country, this is a problem for a lot of people. And it's expensive, and there are areas where rural areas where you can't get it. So what's the FCC now going to do to approach that problem?
So again, you're asking me two questions in one. So let me pull it apart.
Unbundle.
So the net neutrality decision will promote facilities-based competition. When I say facilities-based competition, I mean several different pipes to the home. And let me also just say before that, 2 is not enough either, right? When we were in the dial-up era, Americans had a choice of 13, average 13 dial-up ISPs. I don't think we're going to ever get back to that, but 2 isn't necessarily acceptable either. Mm-hmm. Okay. So I think I just about lost my point.
Yeah, that's okay. So the point being competition.
Yes. Oh, yes. Okay. So the net neutrality decision does not forbear from a part of Title II that will allow Google Fiber and others to use the poles that the other ISPs control. So it gives them fair access to pole attachments and also to conduit in the ground. And this is something that Google Fiber has really wanted. So competitors can use that to build new facilities. So that's really the one thing that net neutrality rules do to help promote facilities-based competition. However, the same day we adopted the net neutrality rules, we also preempted the laws of North Carolina and Tennessee, which prohibit community broadband. So this is either municipally built broadband, public-private partnerships. So it basically disallows a locality, a community, from building its own broadband. Now that decision only applies to Tennessee and to North Carolina, but I wouldn't be surprised if other states that have these restrictions, and there are 19 states where basically the incumbent cable and telephone companies went to the state legislature and said, we don't want competition from communities, pass this law, and they did. And it imposes all different kinds of restrictions, very different kinds of restrictions on communities building broadband. But we have, I said, lifted the 2 in these 2 states, and we expect others will also seek the same relief from us. One other thing, another way that we're promoting competition is through our spectrum policy, both through trying to free up more spectrum for unlicensed use, and also trying to limit the amount of spectrum the largest wireless companies can hold. So we've got a couple of different ways that we're trying to promote more competition. We're eager for more ideas because that's really, really very important to the chairman.
And